Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations, and Conversations again, presented by Inner Expansive Horizons. These conversations are about empowerment, inner freedom, and breaking free from our own shackles so we can grow. They focus on self-care, honoring our spirit, encouraging us to reset during low moments, elevate our frequency of love, recognize our inner resilience, and learn from the experiences of others. I am Kamaljeet, your host, and we are talking to Daria Spokoinaia today. Daria is a professional development coach and a trainer for corporates and individuals. She helps building resilience through mentorship and spiritual wellness. She has taught and studied various forms of practices, including yoga, yoga philosophy, meditation, breathwork, Vedic counselling, positive and Eastern psychology. But then this is not the end of it. There are lots of things. Let's talk to her and hear from her. And before, please do like and subscribe to our channel if you have enjoyed these conversations. It will help us spread the message to a larger audience. Thank you. I truly appreciate it. Hello, Daria. Welcome to Conversations. I'm so glad to have met you and lovely to talk to you here. How are you today?
Hi, Kamaljeet. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm wonderful. I know we have a bit of a time difference, but it's still sunny in both places. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it's bright today here as well in BC. So it was raining yesterday and a little bit gloomy, but today it's brighter. So Daria, today, I want to know more about yourself, what you're doing and how you're helping people. You have such an extensive experience. Could you please share a little about yourself, a little more, and your immigration journey to Canada?
Of course. The student journey is never over, so I have even more years to come. The immigration journey started when I was 9 years old. I didn't even know exactly how far away Canada was from the middle of Russia, to be honest, but I remember passing the ocean and it was taking a long time. So it was a reality check how different it would be. And it was indeed different. I didn't feel like I belonged. Unpronounceable last name, different culture, the language is not at all similar. And it was difficult to fit in for, I would say, to this day. However, living in Toronto, you can definitely find your tribe, and I certainly feel that I have in terms of work and in terms of personal life. But it was quite a journey. On the surface, you think, oh, Caucasian woman, but then in the 90s, curly hair was a different look. The accent, right? And again, just the unusualness of not knowing any cultural references. The conversations were different, the way kids speak to each other, the way adults speak to each other. It was quite, I would say, quite a learning curve in finding how to connect with people as I got older, and then how to connect with people on a professional level. But of course, we have our intimate moments with people. Like, when a smile is genuine.
Absolutely.
And when someone means you well.
Yeah. True. Did you find your people like culturally, people who are culturally connected to you eventually through, one is through networks, the other is through the federal government has this program of, settlement services. Did you find some networks through them?
No, unfortunately, no one gave us those resources when we came, but it was 98. It was not today, and we didn't have the lovely people like you by our side.
That's interesting. So tell me, you started with legal work, when you started your career, and what made you decide to take on a path of holistic transformation and help others? It's a huge difference, like just the other way.
You know what? It is and it isn't. I had very humble beginnings, and I continue to keep that with me because nobody should be in a position where they know all the answers, right? We're always referring to someone, or we're getting back to people if we don't know, so that we can continue growing. And I saw a very toxic environment in the professional services industry in general, not just lawyers. I was supporting lawyers in various capacities, from paralegal to legal project management to professional development, working on international projects to working with local universities. It really spanned, and I took, of course, courses to up my qualifications and took various professional development opportunities. Parallel to that, I started teaching various movement modalities. I had a yoga teacher training, my first one. It was a whole year, which now is like a unicorn, unfortunately. People have these quickie certificates and then really uncertain in their teaching. And I like to think that I helped support the people I worked with, because you bring an attitude.
Yeah.
You bring wellness, doesn't have to be in a presentation and some obscure thing that, oh, at the end of the day, I'll get there. It's how you show up for your team. It's how you execute. It's your discipline. It's your work ethic, and how you treat other people. Even if you're at the bottom of our organizational chart, you can lead from behind. And I like to think that that's what's motivated me this whole time. I wanted to see people do better. Trial preparations, especially for young lawyers, sometimes means 14-hour days for days on end. That's not a way to live. That's not a way to live, chronically. It happens once in a while. That's life, right? Everything comes in phases. But what I saw was burnout. What I saw was a huge disbalance of work-life integration, and teaching people how to get in their body, how to bring back, listening to how they're breathing, just going really primal and really basic, activates all sorts of stuff in our nervous system, in our brain, that it brings people back to their humanity, not just for their practice and in alleviating chronic stress, but to connect with others on humanistic values. That's the ultimate goal. So whether it's a presentation or one-on-one work, that's the real work. It's to connect back to the self.
Yeah, life is stressful, and the legal field is really higher up. So yeah. So I was reading about you. You have delved a lot and studied positive psychology. What is it all about? It's quite new to me, and it seems to add to humanistic approach of thinking and maybe spiritualism in a way.
Thank you. Yes, it's all about our attitude, really, at the end of the day. And all positive psychology it's Eastern philosophy. But it was brought by somebody called Martin Seligman at University of Pennsylvania, Penn State, and Angela Duckworth, his mentee, who wrote the book Grit, which was fantastic. So positive psychology, it's what is the stressor? Where am I against the stressor? So typically when we're overwhelmed, or when we're in that high functioning mode, putting out fires, it's here and we're here. So the focus on talk therapy, for example, you may notice that it's more about the stressor, which then can grow the stressor, right? And we're giving more attention and energy to something, that's where the thoughts are going to go. And what Eastern psychology and positive psychology focus on is strengthening the individual. It's building up resiliency. It's making yourself bigger so that, we're not going to change that boss that's screaming at you. Maybe we can't leave. Maybe it was COVID, it was lockdowns, and everybody was scared for their job. Like, whatever the reason, we have to focus on the self. That is the biggest investment, and it's the most efficient. And that's really what positive psychology is about. There's a reframing, right? We have negative thoughts. well, where is this coming from? Do I have verification on this? What's in my control? Is that someone scary in my head, or is that me in my head? Whatever it is, what can I change? If I can't change the outcome, can I change my attitude and perspective? It's usually an inward dialogue that, 98% of the thoughts you have tend to be, on average, mediocre to not so great. And positive psychology shifts that perspective. And the training, it's definitely a practice. It's just like your mat practice, your meditation practice. These gears definitely take some work.
Yeah, I think it definitely connects you to your inner self and your own spiritual wellness, eventually comes to that. It would be lovely to have a few conversations with you about different programs you're offering, Could you outline them generally for our viewers? There are so many of them, at least 5, 6 different programs that you're offering. So, yeah.
Pleasure, of course. What I aim to give people is a boost. We all have strengths and areas of growth. What I try to do and support people through is the external connection, right? We build an external connection with the body. Some people see that as exercise or movement. What yoga therapists like myself do is use the body to address the breath, because ultimately that is not just a cleansing tool that's efficient if it's directly prescribed to you, right? Based on your constitution, based on my assessment. So we use tongue, we use pulse, all the fun stuff from the East. And working on one-on-one as a yoga therapist is quite rewarding, because all you need is 20, 30 minutes a day. It's not much. It's a very small investment for time. You get quite a lot in return. And in a boardroom setting, educating on the various wellness pillars, right? All of that brings out our humanistic values and how that connects to our place of work, how that connects to our team, how that connects to the community, and then what is spirituality, right? It's something bigger than us. And ultimately we think, oh, that's some man sitting in a cave, but it's not at all. And what I teach people and guide them through, whether it's presentation style or one-on-one, is how to have that discernment of what works in my connection right now. The goal in 3 months may change. Maybe a professional is just getting through today for the next little bit, because in my industry, like, they might have trial, they might have just a busy time. Maybe it's the holidays and they have compound interest on their resources, elder care, child care, all of that. And how I work with workshops, depending on the organization's individual needs, I can factor in nervous system, I can factor in dopamine regulation, as well as the core wellness pillars. And people say sometimes that they want more techniques, but studies have shown, and the legwork, that we don't need that much more to do. In fact, we might reject having more to do on our plate. So what I try to get people to do is play Tetris. You have only so much space in your jar. What's fitting in the jar? So that continues in a resilience boost, as well as yoga therapy, where we look at lifestyle as well as individual constitution.
Yeah, that's very important. It's everyone's, own journey and capacity. How much they are able to, how much they can take on, and how much they can deliver for themselves, how much they can work on themselves. That's also a capacity which increases, as and when you're working on yourself. So it, you can definitely expand. So it will be, lovely to know a little bit more about a lot of these things. And but spiritualism, in a way, is something that we are all waking up to. This what I see you mentioned about positive psychology as well. So what are your thoughts on this? Especially when I see women and young girls struggling with so many issues. How does one connect with their own spirituality? What are your thoughts on that?
Especially about women, right? The image came to my mind of a busy mom, laptop open, baby on the lap, lack of sleep, maybe the hair is in disarray. And it's not to separate one from the other. We're asked not to separate. I can speak on the Patanjali Yoga Sutras now. We're asked not to separate our practice from our day-to-day life. So who we are inside and who we are outside should align as much as possible. And monks and spiritual leaders will say this and have said this before. A homemaker is in no less a position to get enlightened than a monk in a temple. Your serenity, your peace with yourself and your environment is the real practice, right? Even the Bible, the kingdom of heaven is within you.
Yeah.
And that old classic saying about the sage, where do you hide all this potential? Oh, put it into the bottom of the ground. And the sage goes, no. People will dig the ground later looking for materials and they'll find it. Put it at the bottom of the ocean. Oh, they'll find it there where the humans are going to get there. I'll look where no one's going to look for it. Inside here, right? And perhaps people are more attuned to their spirituality now, but query if that's true. It's always been there. I think it's just the speed of information and the mainstream watered down content that has us asking for more, that has us asking for deep questions. And not everybody's ready to sit with these potentially uncomfortable truths. That feeling everything and feeling old trauma, childhood trauma can be very intense. It's much easier to numb it all away and to be in that hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
So I would say we should support everyone who is asking questions, and we should support their views, because our views are our own. We don't all have to agree.
Yes, you just mentioned about religion. So what are your thoughts on spirituality and religion? Are they the same? Is there something that is beyond orthodox confines of religion? I feel just in terms of expansiveness of space and thought.
That expansiveness is the self, right? We tend to see the world reflected back at us in our relationships and how our connection to ourself is. And after we nurture that connection, we then have the resources to expand to our immediate family, right? To our immediate circle. That's a lot. You can take the most spiritual person in the room, stick them with their closest family members and see how they manage, right? That's the running joke. But then you expand beyond that to your community and then globally. And that doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be the day-to-day activities that we do for countering global warming, for example, or women's issues. What we're doing right now, we're having conversations with women as well, right? And all of our pro bono work, all of these connect to our spirituality, which is something greater than us. What is greater than ourselves? Where can I surrender? Where do I feel safe? And for some folks, that may be organized religion. It may be. And what is faith then? What is faith to me versus to you and to a listener? That has to direct the path, right? If it's someone or a book or something that connects us to the responsibility of ourselves, we would all do well to respect that uniqueness. And how I change myself and my inner world to positively influence my immediate surrounding is the real question. Religion is devotional to the divine.
Yeah.
Well, are you and I not devotional to the divine? Is it nature? Or is that a name? So I wasn't concrete because I think there's no real hard answer. I think it's a level of discernment.
Yeah, that's very well said, yeah, very well said. It's just within you and how your inner response is to, I would say, I always connect with spirituality and religion. I've always lived my life through religion, being born in a conservative religion, and I then delved into many, many different philosophies over a period of time, learning, so yeah, I agree with what you say. And generally, speaking about women, we were talking about women, they seem to multitask a lot. They care for their home, their families, and kids and work also. Many of them are working. So what do you feel? How can they plan for the spiritual wellness, or even consider spiritual wellness as a necessity?
Well, isn't it quite a spiritual experience to be a woman, to be a resource, to be a giver? In my background, it's Shakti. It's everything that is feminine that brings it to life. It's energy, it's life force. We are givers and takers of life and destroyers. And then the masculine is material. But without those archetypes and all of that aside, women can tend to their spiritual wellness by not separating it. It's not separate. The material and spiritual are in fact the same. If you expand, what you do expands. If you expand, your world expands. Your worries get bigger. That's all it's about. That's the progression. So I would certainly think that if it was in particular a mother, then children keep us on track. They keep us honest. They keep us really transparent, because there's nowhere to hide. We all want the best for our children.
Yeah. Interesting. You are, it's beautifully, very well explained by you, like how do you help individuals with this wellness, spiritual wellness? I'm very concerned about it, because it's something that you also agree that, your material wellness and spiritual wellness is all together. Day-to-day life, day-to-day activity is all integrated as a whole. So, does it help improve physical health if one focuses on your inner spiritual wellness?
Of course. I think just seeing that the body is a shadow. If that's all anybody would take away from this talk, is that the body is a shadow.
Yeah.
That's all we need to do. We follow the same path. We, as yoga therapists or other movement educators, we look at the body as a map. Doesn't that tell you everything? Even the Western trained doctor with very specific protocols follows the body as a map. And even they, with all the tests in front of them and all the scans and blood work, sometimes don't know the answer and get other specialists. So coming back to our spirituality and the connection and knowing that the body is a shadow, the more professionals a person is able to work with, the more likely they're going to find something that fits at the time to achieve their particular goal at that time. You know what I mean? If material and spiritual are the same, well, if I am financially able to, then I can afford to outsource, to get expert views, to get those, people who see everything through you because they check various things. The more things you have checking and going on, the simpler it is to be healthy and expanding.
Yeah. So you have also done is just a little maybe more of a technical question came to my mind is what is yoga? Is it only physical, or what yoga is all about?
It translates from Sanskrit as union. And that union is mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
My union to the divine, to the higher self. All of those definitions are yoga. Progress versus perfection, to be on the journey, because we accept that this is not going to happen in a quick fix, that it's a practice. We're always clearing away the debris in yoga, whether those debris are environmental, our perception, the snow that keeps falling in our mind that are our thoughts, the compound interest on those thoughts, right? Whatever is a thought will become action, will impact our character, will impact our life, and deeper levels. All yoga is union.
So what suggestions, or guidance would you have for someone who feels at the end of their journey, feels at the end of a road, they're at crossroads with themselves, they are near a nervous breakdown. How can they immediately reset their mind?
If it's happening to you, be uncomfortable. Instead of drinking it away, smoking it away, sleeping it away, eating it away, running away, literally, sit with it, sit with the feeling, find an inner silence, get all the professional support you can get. Take leave, depending on where you are, right? It's a spectrum. If I'm having an acute episode, or do I know there's light? Can I plan for the next 2 weeks and get the support I need? It really depends on the individual. But taking a leave from work might be advisable depending on what the doctor or other professionals are saying. And again, trying to solve these things on yourself, on your own, not asking for help, is the number one thing that's going to lead it to a nervous breakdown. If you're on the journey and you know that it's coming, certainly take all the action you can take and call various professionals. It's a normal, whatever the person is experiencing is normal. They make sense. They are welcome. And if you're the one supporting them, this is the attitude to embody. I don't understand, but I know they make sense because it's happening to them based on their life to this point. We accept people.
Yeah, this is very important that you need to seek help. You need to recognize, and you need definitely, very well said. You should seek help. You should talk to somebody and ask for a professional help, actually. Sometimes friends and, peer groups and maybe your immediate family members, I've noticed they would say, it's okay, it's just a little stress, it'll pass on, but your inner being knows what's going on. And it's important to seek help. So, what can one do to support friends or community members when many of us are stressed and we may be in a mental health crisis without even realizing it? Similar to what I said, like friends are okay, but family members also sometimes they don't see through it.
You sometimes have to give them space. I know from myself, I had an acute episode of depression while I was pregnant. I didn't want to talk to anyone. And you have to respect that. It was really difficult for my close family members, for sure. But asking somebody how they are over and over again is not going to solve the problem. It's going to add more stress and more things to do. Whereas what they need to do if they're going through a very private experience is to go inward and be quiet, be silence. Outside of professional advice and guidance and supervision, of course, it's needing to know when to leave somebody alone, when to check in, when to just send them food. This everybody appreciates when they're busy, because when you're handling your mind and say you're in an acute episode, you're not thinking about the shower or the food or the day-to-day stuff. So it's really the mundane things that might be the most useful. I've heard this from other friends who have gone through depression, and help with filling out forms was the number one thing that came up.
Yeah.
It depends. It really depends. I would say ask and back off and know that they're talking to someone who's qualified.
Yeah, I think I will really need to have another session with you to learn more, what exactly you're doing through therapy and mentorship sessions, helping people. So, like generally, I like to ask about, thoughts of people on humanistic spiritualism. We did talk about it a little bit. Is there a better way to recognize oneness and interconnectedness of life beyond the norms of religion, or religious frameworks? How do you feel about it?
Absolutely. I have a story on this. So he was a prince at the time, but now King Charles got totally ridiculed in the media, and his words were really twisted by saying that he could talk to plants. Well, what he probably meant was that he could feel the life force, the connection, the presence of nature with him. And it was a plant. It wasn't, our understanding of, a human or a dog, etc. But then Eckhart Tolle mentioned this example in one of his talks on what used to be on YouTube. And our connection to the environment, be it a plant, a human, or a landscape, is our connection to the divine. What is a connection to the divine? It's when you say, this is so magnificent. I didn't do anything to get this. Maybe I don't even deserve it, but it's here. How wonderful is that? It's this overflowing gratitude for life force. There's no limit. The responsibility of the self to be dedicated, but push so hard, try so hard, it's clearly working against a wall. When it's the responsibility to show up as the best version of yourself, you get really sensitive. And I think that's what now King Charles was perhaps in tune with. That when you're really sensitive, you become at this high level of flow, but at the same time discernment.
Yeah.
And perhaps organized religion gets a bad rap because of the extremes, And if we all came back to that, my connection to the life force, my connection to something that I respect. I respect living things, so I respect and do not harm plants or any other living things. This is one of the 8 limbs of yoga, one of the parts of the 8 limbs of yoga, which is non-harm, ahimsa. Very popular word.
Yeah.
And perhaps applying that to our connection with something divine would be relevant. It all starts and ends with you.
Yeah, interestingly, many years ago, sometimes I think in early 90s or mid 90s, I don't remember the year exactly, I got into learning of various healing modalities. And in one of the sessions, the teacher, the instructor was telling us to feel the plants, the energy from the plants. And I was laughing from within. I said, how do I went near the planter, and, I was, he wanted us to feel the aura of the plants. And I found it very funny, but then I did, over a few sessions, I could feel that. And he said, see, this is how you need to talk to them, feel them, and see how they will grow well. It was something very interesting for me and very new to me at that time. But yes, that's true. One can, yes. Thank you for sharing that story.
Of course, I would say that feeling the aura of a plant is definitely not how you start. I don't know if I'm there, but Where I get people to land is feeling their breathing, their diaphragm, and all the ways to get into the senses of how to do that. That's the very essential life force. You know, you start your life on an inhale, you end your life on an exhale, and life is just the breaths in between.
Yeah, you might have me as your next client. You never know. So where can someone reach you if they would like to seek your guidance?
Of course, I have my website, which we will link, I'm sure,
Yes,
remove.consulting.
absolutely.
Remove, so it's like a play on words. We're moving, and where it's like a play on an email with regards to Instagram, remove wellness. You'll find me there. You can search my full name, and all of my things will come up as well, and we'll share links here.
Yes, I will. I will definitely do that. But I look forward to another session, a more detailed, comprehensive session with you on each of your, mentorship and spiritual wellness sessions. And I'm excited to talk to you again sometimes. Thank you so much, Daria.
No, thank you. Thank you for doing this work and for having me here. It's like a conversation between old friends, but we met online. What a blessing.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Thank you.